but I just ended up over their house anyway, and I passed out, and they woke me up in the morning, and then I went to the Hill District and got in the march, and I've been here ever since. I've been here since day one, like, after that. Occupy has, for those, in that dark period in my life, I felt like I had no control over what happened to me, that I had no free will, that things just happened to me that I had no control of. And in being here, I've learned to take control of my life, that I can have a say in what goes on around me, that I do have the power to make real change in myself and those around me and in the world. And all of you, every single one of you, have become more like family to me than my family, than any family I've ever had. And doing better now. I'm no longer binge drinking, and I don't know. I get this movement. Everything this movement stands for, everything I participated in, fulfills me more than anything ever has in my life. And that's my office.
I'm Merlin. I didn't intend to speak tonight, but I will. Symbol of Occupy for me. The dollar bill. I was born in 1945, a long time ago for most of you. Not for you, Merlin. But for most people here. I have a father who came back and found me. My mom got pregnant before they left. They were married. Came back and we raised the projects till I was about 5, and they bought a house, and there was a postal workers, working class family, and a mom stayed at home. And I was acutely aware from a very, very early age, I'm not even sure how early, but very early, that there were people who had money and there were people who didn't. There were people who had a lot of privilege, and there were people who had some privilege, and some people who had no privilege. And I was acutely aware that from a very early age that if you took a dollar bill, there was individuals in the world, if you took the richest person compared to the poorest person, at least in this country, some small portion of this would still belong to the poorest person. But most of it would go to the richest person. As I grew up and got older and went through Vietnam and the civil rights period and everything else, that portion that went to that very poorest person got smaller and smaller and smaller. And today, if we could take off proportionally, a portion that would go to the poorest person and leave what's left for the richest person, this bill would look whole to you. You wouldn't even notice the gram or the tiny microscopic piece that would come off here for the smallest person, because that's what's happening in our world. So for me, and I come from a very privileged position right now, and I recognize that. My wife and I both recognize that. We're both healthcare professionals. I was a truck driver. I almost lost my home once when I got laid off. I was pretty poor. I was pretty damn close, but came back. I came back largely because of white male skin privilege. I'll tell you the honest truth. I enjoyed things other people didn't. I don't have a lot of education, community college, but there's a lot of white male skin privilege out there that enables some of us to do better than other folks do. And I've always been very, very aware of that. And today, we live in a house in Point Breeze, and we're very, very aware that we live better than most people do. We don't live as well as the very rich do. We don't want to live as well as the very rich do. But that world in which we live has got to stop. It just has to end. It is morally, ethically, socially, politically, culturally indefensible. And my wife and I just can't get up every morning and look at ourselves without knowing we tried to do something to do this for our kids, for our neighbors, for everybody we know, including ourselves in the long run. We don't really know what's going to happen. Hell, I'm 66. By the time I'm 86, maybe I'll be living in the streets. You never know, because we're heading for collapse. I think we all know that economically. The empire's dying. But we've got to find a way, and I'm not saying we'll have to find a way so that every single person in the world gets an equal portion of that. That's probably never going to happen. We can sure as hell find a way so that the very poorest person gets a larger share than the person who walks off with almost the whole goddamn thing. And that's why I'm here.
are my symbol of Occupy. My name is Timothy, but I go by the nickname Merlin. My buttons are a source of my occupying. I belong to many civil rights groups. I have ever since I became 13 years old, when my first stage of injustice occurred. I was taken and removed out of my mother's house just so the government could keep an eye on my mother. I was placed in a mental hospital for 4 years. I was under the assumption I'd only be there for 30 days. During that time, I was sexually assaulted and abused. There was no protection for me. No one spoke out against the abuse I suffered, and I still suffer the indignities of everything today. So from that day to this day, I've been fighting for social justice causes, and my heart is in anything that can change a system of evil that nobody should have to endure, and particularly a child. And I'm called Merlin because I have had the strength to overcome the indignities of rape, abuse, and not only that, but I have beaten the corporations. I have stood for what they cannot do on their own. I am a symbol. I am the symbol of hope, because I won't give up the struggle or the battle, because everybody needs to know that this government of ours is the most evil and corrupt organization. Although we have democracy and freedom, but that freedom is at a price that nobody needs to have. At a cost. The horrors that we do in foreign countries, the murders that we commit, it's horrible. This button I wear here, a 10-year-old boy from El Salvador gave it to me the day before he got killed. His parents was arrested by the El Salvadorian government, and they were executed before his eyes. He was brought here under one of the orphan packs, and he got hit by a car the day after he gave this and died. This is my captive, set the captives free. God brought me through this whole thing. I'm sorry, I'm a faith believer and I'm a lay minister in the Methodist faith. But my story is that of tragedy. Tragedy that can be overcome, but you've got to be strong. Not here, but in your heart, your soul, your mind. The whole thing. Like I once was told, because I chose to be a gay person in my youth. When you're going to be gay, you've got to stand up for whatever you believe in and stand strong, because they're going to make you feel like you're dirt. Well, I felt that way many times, but I've always held my head up high, because the system could not put me down or under. And I refuse to let them do it.